welcome to another Fine Bar and Wines video podcast. This time I have a bottle of Chateau Planier, which is Bordeaux. Why do I have this? So I've been shopping a bit more recently in Lidl. Normally I'm sort of like go to the nearest supermarket, but coronavirus, I've had to be careful with my pennies. Lidl is a lot cheaper. I've been going there. And I bought a couple of wines. Yesterday I had a Asti style Spumante, low alcohol. Regardless, it was fantastic. I recommend it. It was about £6. But I saw this and it took my interest. So I'm going to go a little bit into the history of Bordeaux before I do this. So if you're listening in on the podcast, you're not seeing what's on the bottle, so I'll explain it. But basically, I was sort of intrigued by this bottle because it is a Cru Bourgeois. Cru Bourgeois was set up in 1932. And for a very good reason. Basically, in 1855, they set up a group of chateaux that produced their wines. No one ever got in, no one ever left, and it basically made them much higher priced than everybody else. Made it very difficult for everybody else to get any kind of recognition. And so in 1913, Cru Bourgeois was set up for a select group of vineyards. Bourgeois sort of means middlemen, or the sort of middle layer. And they're basically saying, hey, we make good wines as well. We're not in the 1855 classification that happened, what would that be, like 80 years nearly, 77 years? Yeah, 77 years before. So we're not them, but we're still producing good wine. So Cru Bourgeois, Cru meaning growth, Bourgeois meaning middle growth. That was set up. And it's not often that you see a Cru Bourgeois set at, I think it was £10 or £11 in Lidl. You don't often see that. They're normally 15, 16, 17 upwards. And many of them can hit 50, 60 pounds. So I thought, I've got to have a try of this. I've got to find out if it's any good. So what do we know about it? 2016, excellent vintage, excellent vintage. They had a great summer, great autumn, not bad spring. And so everything came together really nicely. So it's going to be one of their more powerful wines of their range. So even more surprising that it's £10, £11, something like that. It's Medoc. So Medoc is the entire region of the left bank of Bordeaux. Not the entire region, but a huge chunk of it. So lots of areas can be covered by it, and then there are more specific areas within Medoc. But this is actually in the northern area, so it's not Haut Medoc, it's not the high Medoc, which is ludicrous. There is no high end of Medoc, as in elevation, but regardless. So yeah, it's in the northern section of the Medoc, not the most famed of all the areas, probably the lowest end of the higher end wine. But still a good area and a good year. So what can we expect from a classic Bordeaux? You see the word Bordeaux. If you drink Bordeaux and you know Bordeaux, you'll know that you're expecting flavours like blackcurrant. That will come from the Cabernet Sauvignon. You're going to get blackberry. You're going to get, potentially, if it's a really good wine, perhaps some licorice and tobacco. Perhaps some green bell pepper, depending on the year. Perhaps some vanilla. Maybe what else? Cigar box, chocolate. You name it. If it's in that area, if it's from a Merlot grape, if it's from the Cabernet Sauvignon, and perhaps a bit of Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, Carmenere, you're going to get flavours from those grapes. So I actually have got high expectations, which you shouldn't go into a wine with high expectations, but I've got high expectations, because yesterday's wine that I had from them, that was £6, was fantastic, and I've had several wines off of them now, and each one's been great, so I'm kind of looking forward to this. So I decanted it, but I haven't tried it, I haven't sniffed it, I kept away from it. I wanted to come into this podcast free from it, so I can't be free of my expectations, but I can be free from any knowledge. So I've kept away from it. And this is literally the first time I'm smelling and or tasting it. But I decanted it about an hour ago. I wanted to give it the best chance possible to live. So let's give it a go. Let's give it a little. Well, before I do that, it's got a beautiful colour to it. It's. I need a a white background. I've got a white background on the wall here, but the light. So it's very deep, and it's going what's known as garnet. So garnet is a slight browning. I tell you what, it's almost purpley going garnet. No. See, I need a white piece of paper and a light directly behind me. It's really quite difficult. No, it is. It's going slightly garnet, which means there's some age to it. So you can start to expect a bit more of a complexity to the wine, and that's great. You know, it's a 4-year-old wine. It could be quite special. Let's give it a little. Let's check out the aromas. Oh, that is okay. So really above expectations. Well, no, on expectations, but above what you would expect from a 10, 11 pound wine. Okay, so obviously blackcurrant, but definitely tobacco. Oh, tobacco, really strong. And that licorice note, yep, definitely there. And that sort of slight green bell peppery sort of, as the Americans call it, capsicum. It's just a peppery note to it. It's only just about there. But that tobacco and licorice is really strong, really strong. Oh no, yeah, and touch of vanilla on that. That is, I'm really excited about trying this. So Chateau Plagnac, let's give you a go. That's a good Bordeaux. That's an excellent Bordeaux. It's got everything you expect from it. Everything. It's got fruit notes. It's got that blackcurrant base, that core of blackcurrant. Very nice acidity. Great grip on the teeth. So your tannins are strong. Nice mouth-filling flavour, mouth-filling texture. Oh, that's great. That is really good. See, I'm a Bordeaux person, and I think there's a love-hate with Bordeaux. I think some wine people love to hate it, and some wine people just love to love it. I love it. I think there's something magical about it. It's just, yeah, there's something magical about it. But this stands up as a classic Bordeaux. It's got everything right about it. Right, I love to do this with a Bordeaux. That tobacco flavour is fantastic. It's not like breathing in a waft of tobacco-y smoke. It's just, it touches the top of your palate like in waves. It kind of hits it and hits it and hits it all the way back, all the way through. It's a long flavour, much longer than I would have expected. A cheaper wine, you expect it to hit the tongue and bang, it's done. There you go, and down it goes, and you've drunk the wine, and everything you've got was at the front of the mouth. This, no, it goes back, and that tobacco, that's why you fill your mouth with that wine. Find out what's going on. Do a taste where you take it through well, for me personally, I like to take a taste, let it hit the tongue, swallow it. Do another one, fill your mouth. God, it's a fantastic wine. I would buy that again. I've had 15, 20 pound Bordeaux and been really disappointed because I know what to expect from a Bordeaux. I know what I love in a Bordeaux. And that really is. And I would suggest, even at £11, that'll still be good in maybe a couple of years. It's got everything right. There's enough complexity to it. The acidity's good. The tannin structure's lovely. The tannins are lovely. They really grip. And you've still got enough of that blackcurrant flavour to really hold you. It really sort of like, it's there, it's vibrant, but it's not so vibrant that it's like an American wine or a South African wine. It's still very French. It's vibrant, but it's restrained at the same. I can't explain that. I don't have the vocabulary to explain that. There's a vibrancy and there's a restrained nature to it. I've got to go back and have some more. I'm really loving this. I recommend buying this. If you go into Lidl, is it Lidl? It is Lidl, yeah. If you go into Lidl and you see Chateau Plagnac and you want to know what a good Bordeaux should taste like, maybe you've never had a Bordeaux you liked. Maybe you always have Bordeaux and you love them, but you don't know what a Bordeaux is supposed to be like. That's what a Bordeaux is supposed to be like. Now, why? What's the difference? Well, there's lots of different areas, and so when I say that's what a Bordeaux should be like, that's what a left bank Bordeaux should be like. I'll go into that a little bit further. I've just got to have another taste of this. Yeah, it's lighter than when you buy, for example, there's an area in Bordeaux called Saint Estèphe, and it's a lot harder, and you need some time for it to develop. That is not going to develop over 10 years. It really won't. It's not super complex. It's not what you expect in a high-end Bordeaux, but it is what you expect from a Bordeaux, from a good Bordeaux. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that. If someone was to taste that and go and critique it, they're critiquing an £11 Bordeaux, which would be ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You either want a mega expensive or a cheap, but if you can get a good Bordeaux for 11 quid. Oh. So, what is it? Well, so for those of you who know Bordeaux and understand it, there's left bank and there's right bank, and then through the middle comes the river Gironde. So on the left bank, what they have is this huge man-made forest built by the Dutch about 400 years ago, and then on that they plant a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon. It's about as northerly as that grape will grow. Any further north and it won't ripen. That's not entirely true, because I know in the Loire Valley, which is a bit further north, they ripen, but it takes very specific conditions. It needs lots of sunshine, lots of heat. So in fact, really, even Bordeaux is too far north. They just happen to have a specific stony soil that basically those stones hold the heat. So at night time they continue to ripen because the stones release the heat back to the vines. So it never really ripens like a South African or a Californian where they get a lot more heat. It ripens differently. You get these slightly more restrained, a bit more bitter flavours. And so that's the left bank. You get a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, Carmenere, those grapes are there that make up the rest. On the right bank you get Merlot dominant, Cabernet Franc, then Cabernet Sauvignon, because Cabernet Sauvignon doesn't ripen very well on the right side of the river, whereas it does on the left bank, just due to soil types. So when we're talking about a classic left bank Bordeaux, we're talking about a very Cabernet Sauvignon dominant wine. When you're talking about a right bank, Saint-Emilion, Pomerol, Fronsac, those kind of areas, Côte de Blay, although Côte de Blay is sort of a bit of an anomaly amongst it all. These areas are classic right bank. Merlot, a lot softer, a lot more Merlot driven, just rounder wines, I suppose, in general. And a lot fruitier. So it depends on what your desires are in a Bordeaux. Do you want something that's very fruity or more fruity? Go right bank. If you want something a little bit more complex, and not always more complex, but a little bit more complex, a little bit more Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, left bank. If you like a really fruity Cabernet Sauvignon, don't go to Bordeaux. It's not your friend. But what will be your friend is if you want to have a wine that will sit and develop and age. An expensive left bank is definitely the way forward. You know, you spend £25–30 on perhaps one of the 1855's second or third wine, so they produce a range of wines. If you go into that, you can get some really good age-worthy Cabernet Sauvignon dominant left bank Bordeaux wines. I definitely recommend investigating it, and I definitely recommend investigating that. What else is there to discuss about Bordeaux? We could go on all evening, but I'm only going to keep it brief. Things that you might want to think about when buying a Bordeaux is, do you want to spend a lot of money? Because Bordeaux has an endless sort of number that you could hear. I mean, for example, on the right bank, there's an area called Le Pin. There's a tiny little vineyard called Le Pin, spelt Le Pin. And Le Pin is just a little church with a tiny little vineyard around it. And they go for about £8 grand a bottle. I mean, £8,000 a bottle. And they can go higher than that. It just depends what year you're buying. And then not too far from that, you've got areas in Saint-Emilion. Saint-Emilion has its own Grand Cru grading system. And they've got 4 sort of mega chateaux that charge £4 grand a bottle, easy. And then in Pomerol you've got Petrus, which I've got a picture on my Instagram if you have a look of me standing outside of it. You just crazy money. And what's hilarious is you may have even tried, although unlikely, grapes from their vineyard. And the reason being is because they don't produce a wine every year. They are Merlot, Merlot, Merlot. And if they don't think the year is good enough to bottle it, they don't. And they just sell their grapes off to other vineyards. So other vineyards essentially use their grapes. It's possible, although unlikely, that you've actually had, you know, Petrus grapes. And then on the left bank, again, there's oh man, the amount of money. So Mouton Rothschild, Lafite, who else? Chateau Margaux. Just there's 5 big boys on the left, and then you've got Chateau d'Yquem, which makes Sauterne, and that's mega money. Mega Aubryon in Pessac-Léognan. All these mega money places in Bordeaux. It's a treasure trove of money. And then you can just come down the list and work your way down to a £10 bottle. So and you can go down to like a £6 bottle, and in France you can buy a £4 or £5 bottle. It's what are you expecting from a £4 or £5 bottle? Are you expecting this? Definitely not. You're expecting something completely different. You're expecting a very Merlot driven, very fruity, easy drinking, just a fruity wine. That's what you're expecting. They're banging it out to market. They're looking for the easiest consumer that goes, Bordeaux, £6, yes please. Whereas when you start to get to that sort of £10, £11, if you're used to a £6 bottle of Bordeaux, you may drink a £15 bottle of Bordeaux and go, whoa, not for me. And the reason it's not for you is maybe it needs aging. Maybe it's a style of wine you're not used to. It's like anything really. Just because you've gone up doesn't mean that you understand what you've gone up to, and sometimes education is what helps you to understand the step up and why that costs more. So you're not enjoying it, but if you took the time to perhaps understand it, maybe you then would enjoy it. So education plays a really big part, I think, in Bordeaux drinking. And if you're going up in price and you're not used to a left bank, more restrained style, perhaps the right bank would be better for you. If you're looking for a more, perhaps, I would say more an American style of Bordeaux, then perhaps try Saint-Julien, because they have this distinctive sort of chocolatey, cherry flavoured notes. Very, very much worth having a little try on that. And then if you perhaps want something a little bit more delicate, and they're called more feminine, the area of Margaux in Bordeaux, very, very, very much a more easy drinking style, very pleasant, more floral. It's pretty wine. I really like Margaux. My personal favourite chateau in Margaux, if you take the time to look for it, is Continent Brown. Now, it's only my favourite. It's because it's the one I've drunk the most of, and there's plenty of chateau in Margaux that I haven't tried. So Chateau Continent Brown, I love them. Just a little thing, and I'm hoping this year to get a few more bottles, stick them in the cellar, and let them age, because that's what they're designed to do. You know, it's considered a bit of a crime if you spend a little bit more money. It's, you know, you shouldn't be opening them in the first 10 years. Other than that, if you want to try a bit of a Bordeaux experience without paying Bordeaux money, South Africa has some fantastic Bordeaux blend styles. If you're in Waitrose, you can get a Rustenburg. That will cost you, what are we talking, think about £12, £13. That's worth a try. And then you can try things like, oh, one that I really like, but it needs aging, is a Mearlust, and the high-end Mearlust. It's about £28, and I've bought a case of them on Premier. So they haven't been released yet. They'll be released in August, September, something like that. And I paid £20 per bottle. A few of us went in on it and bought a couple of cases. They retail when they come out at about £28, £30, something along those lines, and you just don't touch them. You don't touch them for 5 to 10 years. If you can wait 15, 20, oh, they will sing, as long as you store them right. And that's the other thing. With good wines like this, you need to store it. Let's have another little taste of this. It's had a bit more time to air. Oh, the tobacco on that is lovely, and the blackcurrant, and yeah, lovely blackcurrant note. That, and licorice, a little touch of vanilla in there. Oh, that is great. Where does the vanilla come from? So it's the temperature at which the barrique, that's the French word for the barrel, the barrique are burned and charred inside. And I think it's, I can't remember if it's above 110 degrees. I think it's that. But each temperature that they bring the barrel up to changes the flavours that are imparted. And so vanilla can be imparted. And I think vanilla is more associated with American oak. Oh, is it American oak that I have to, that's something I need to, now I've said it, I need to spend a bit of time remembering this. American oak imparts certain types of flavours, French oak imparts another. Another type of oak that is getting commonly used, Sauvignon oak. And I know that the Spanish now are quite keen to use their own oak. Just doing a bit of research for my Spanish wine scholar that's coming up this year. They're quite keen on using their own oak, which is, you know, new, interesting, so you can expect different things. And the other thing about the style of oaking that came from Bordeaux, that did emigrate down to Spain. There was a massive crisis. If you know about wine, you know about phylloxera. If you don't, it was basically something that came over from America. It's like a little mite that eats the roots. Huge problem, almost wiped out all of the vineyards in Europe until a way of resolving this came about 120, 130 years ago. But it hit France before it hit Spain. So lots of the French winemakers came down to Spain and taught the Spanish how they were making wine in Bordeaux. And so we all think of Spanish wine as this very oaky wine. Well, that actually came from French winemakers bringing it down to Spain. So it's more of a Bordeaux thing using oak, and we just associate it with Spain because they went crazy with it. They thought, right, how much oak flavour can we impart? Which at the time lacked a bit of balance, but now they really know how to balance. I'm a big lover of Spanish wine. If you like wines that are well balanced with good oak aging, Spanish wines at the moment, as long as you're prepared to pay, you know, £15, something along those lines, which is crazy because in Spain that £15 wine would probably set you back about £5. That might be an exaggeration, but it would be a lot cheaper. Spanish wine in Spain is so cheap. My in-laws live quite near the Spanish border, and they drive down to Spain and they buy wine for just a few pounds, and it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. My father-in-law drinks a wine called Don Mendo, and when you drink it on a warm day, because you think of Spain, you think of that Mediterranean climate, there is nothing better than a cheap bottle of Don Mendo. And I have really warmed to good cheap wine. Before I was struggling to find good cheap wine, but once you start to find a few, you can go back and back. So that's difficult. And so if you do have cheap wine recommendations, feel free to write in your comments below. Try this, try that. Put down how much you paid for it, when you bought it, where you bought it, and what makes that wine good. Because I'm always keen to find a bargain. I don't want to spend loads of money. In fact, I want wines given to me to try. And eventually I will get there. I know I will. But at the moment, I'm having to buy my own wine. Livid. Right, enough wine chat. I've got a few minutes left of this podcast that I can chat. So what's going on? Well, things have started to open up quite considerably. That's great. I've completely changed my diet over the last 2 months, and I've now gone into intermittent fasting. So I'm doing 16 hours no food, 8 hours food, still eating the same amount of food, but bang, cram, 12 o'clock start, 8 o'clock finish. After that, no food, all the way back round to 12 o'clock the next day, consuming about 3,000 calories in that time, but yeah, it's good. Gymming, I've got a gym in the garage, so hitting the gym pretty hard, which is good. So I'm feeling healthy. I've started to feel good. I need the physio. I need the physio on my back. I've got a knot in my back that's like a golf ball. And he got rid of it almost. I think I needed one more physio session. Lockdown kicked in. I need that physio. I need him to work that knot out. I've got this black sort of circular ridged ball that I roll over it. And it does give me relief like the next day. So when I do it, I know about it because the next day I'm like, oh, it's so much lighter. But then as the day progresses, I feel that pain rebuild, and I'm like, oh, I need it to go, I need it to go, I need it to go. So can't wait for lockdown to end so I can get some physio, another human to touch me. It's just neither here nor there in the real world, but it means a lot to me. And other things that are going on, well, work's been slow for me, I'll be honest. Really slow, tedious. But Ursula, probably shouldn't give away my wife's name on this. Wooa, no, not going to say that either. That's a nickname. I'll bleep those out. I'll just put a beep across it because I don't want you knowing my wife's name. It's not for anyone to know unless she announces it. Well, I won't. Who knows? Anyway, she's been working hard. She's at work right now. It's getting towards 9 o'clock in the evening, and she's working because she's a nurse. I say it all the time. She's killing it. She's working every hour under the sun. So she's doing amazing, and she works at a hospice. And I'm really thinking about doing something to try and raise money and generate sort of like, it's a charity, and I'm thinking I should do something, but I don't know what yet. I don't know. I might cycle the South Downs. That's 100 miles over hills. That could be good fun. I did it a few years ago, but never quite completed it. So I wouldn't mind going back and redoing that. But yeah. So any other thoughts? I got nothing else to talk about. There's nothing really going on. Oh, and it's been beautiful, the weather. Other than it's been windy, and there was one day this week where I got home, and I just looked like a lobster, my whole face. And I'd put some SPF on 30, but the wind had sort of like scorched my face. I'm glad I've got the beard. It just sort of like protects my cheeks somewhat. It really protects me in the winter, because I'm outside a lot. And in the winter, if I don't have the beard, my face goes whong, and then the evening kicks in, and you've been out in the cold all day, and then it's warm, and my face just goes. I look like a glass of wine has been poured on my face. But anyway, have a good week, and I will see you soon. And I hope that the physio gets open soon. Anyway, love to you all. Keep safe, keep healthy, and have a nice drink of wine.